Just a really amazing and convincing speech here given by Chris Hedges during they call it the People's Party convention. I think it took place last week, and just wanted to share Chris Hedges' speech with you because it's just really, just again, powerful, moving, makes a great case for why we need to move beyond the corporate duopoly that is the Democratic and Republican parties in the US that are bought and paid for by the same interest, who are not, either party are not friends of the working class, and how it's just time to break free of that duopoly. And Chris Hedges is just, just has a really, really amazing voice. I'm just reading, what is it? One of his books again, America, the Farewell Tour. Sorry, I forgot, but it's highly recommend that. And probably I haven't read any of his other books, but I've really enjoyed all of his shows on, RT, on Contact with Chris Hedges, and just all of the other interviews he gives. He's just really full of knowledge and critical analysis and insight. So here we go.
Letting me speak with such impressive people, some of whom I know and most of whom I know about. There is only one choice in this election, and that is the consolidation of oligarchic power under Donald Trump or the consolidation of oligarchic power under Joe Biden. The oligarchs with Trump or Biden will win again, and we will lose. The oligarchs made it abundantly clear, should Bernie Sanders have miraculously become the Democratic
They would
Party
go for
nominee,
Trump.
they would join forces with the Republicans to crush him. The oligarchs preach the mantra of the least worst to us when they attempt to ram a Hillary Clinton or a Joe Biden down our throats, but ignore it for themselves. They prefer Biden over Trump, but they can live with either. Only one thing matters to the oligarchs. It is not democracy. It is not truth.
It's power and
control. It is not the consent of the governed. It is not income inequality. It is not the surveillance state. It is not endless war. It is not jobs. It is not the climate breakdown.
Tuition-free college.
It is the primacy of corporate power, which has extinguished our democracy and left most of the working class and the working poor in misery, as well as the continued increase and consolidation of their wealth.
Damn.
It is impossible to work within the system to shatter the hegemony of oligarchic power or institute meaningful reform. Change, real change, will only come by sustained acts of mass
civil disobedience,
mobilization, as with the Yellow Vest movement in France and the British-based Extinction Rebellion.
Or I would say any type of general strike that, would have been awesome if maybe some of these politicians, look at you, Bernie Sanders, had came out and in support of a general strike to actually get, Medicare for all, UBI during a fucking pandemic.
The longer we are fooled by the electoral burlesque, the more disempowered we will become. Dr. Cornel West and I were on the streets with protesters in Philadelphia outside the appropriately named Wells Fargo Center during the 2016 Democratic Convention, when hundreds of courageous Sanders delegates walked out of the hall. "Show me what democracy looks like," they chanted, holding Bernie signs above their heads as they poured out of the exits. "This is what democracy looks like." Sanders' greatest tactical mistake was not joining them. He bowed in fear before the mighty altar of the corporate state.
I don't know if he says this, but Hedges has pointed out how Sanders has always been a sheepdog of the Democratic Party, and it was true, in 2016, and it's true now.
He had desperately tried to stave off a revolt by his supporters and delegates on the eve of the convention by sending out repeated messages in his name, most of them authored by members of the Clinton campaign, to be respectful, not disrupt the nominating process, and support Clinton. Sanders was a dutiful sheepdog then and is a
There he goes. He mentioned it.
The attempting to herd his disgruntled supporters into the embrace of the Clinton and now Biden campaign. Sanders apparently believed that if he
Then
was
it should also be pointed out that Bernie dropped out, basically endorsed Joe Biden right away, and got no type of policy concessions whatsoever.
To the Democratic Party elite, they would give him a chance in 2020, a chance they denied him in 2016. Politics, I suspect he would argue, is about compromise and the practical. And this is true. But playing politics in a system that is not democratic is about being complicit in the charade.
Which he is.
Sanders misread the Democratic Party leadership, swamp creatures of the corporate state. He misread the Democratic Party itself, which is a corporate mirage. It's based.
I don't know if he misread or if he just didn't really care at the end of it. 'Cause, I mean, he wasn't willing to campaign against Biden with the veracity that was needed. He always referred to Joe Biden as his friend, wasn't really willing to go after him on policy as much as he should have. He kept saying he thought Joe Biden could defeat Donald Trump. He wasn't really campaigning to win. And then again, as Hedges points out, he tried to herd all of his followers into supporting Joe Biden, while Joe Biden offers nothing of real substance to Bernie supporters.
Can at best select pre-approved candidates and act as props at rallies and in choreographed party conventions. The Democratic Party voters have zero influence on party politics or party policies. Sanders' naivete and perhaps his lack of political courage drove away many of his most committed young supporters. They are right. He is wrong.
Yep.
We need to overthrow the system, not plague it. Trump and Biden are each repugnant figures, doddering into old age with cognitive lapses and no moral core. Is Trump more dangerous than Biden?
Yes.
Yes. Is Trump more inept and more dishonest? Yes. Is Trump more of a threat to the open society? Yes. But is Biden the solution?
Nope.
No. Biden represents the nostalgia of the ruling elite for the old neoliberal order. He personifies the betrayal
Of the
by
working
Democratic
class.
Party of working men and women.
Yep.
And spark the deep hatred of the ruling elites across the political spectrum. He is a gift to demagogues and con artists like Trump. A Biden presidency will ensure
Whoever comes
far
next.
more competent
Exactly.
demagogues will rise to take power. Biden cannot plausibly offer change. He can only offer more of the same. Most Americans do not want more.
Well, and if he actually wanted to make some type of change, they wouldn't have propped him up over Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders' platform, a vast majority of Democratic voters supported things like Medicare for all, tuition-free college, canceling student loan debt, an ambitious Green New Deal plan. None of the things Biden supports, hence why the corrupt Democratic establishment propped him up over Bernie.
The country's largest.
And they're more concerned with not having a, progressive as the candidate than they are with defeating Donald Trump. Bernie would have stood a much better chance of defeating Donald Trump than Joe Biden. All Joe Biden has going for him is he's not Donald Trump. And that, frankly, might not be enough to beat him.
The 100 million plus citizens
who don't vote.
Apathy or disgust do not vote.
Yep.
Will once again stay home. This demoralization of the electorate is by design. In America, you were only allowed to vote against.
Not for what you want.
But by voting for Biden, you do vote for something. You vote for the humiliation of courageous women, such as Anita Hill, who confronted their abusers. You vote for the architects of the endless wars in the Middle
NAFTA.
East. You vote for the apartheid state in Israel.
Yep.
You vote for wholesale surveillance of the public by government intelligence agencies and the abolition of due process and habeas corpus. You vote for austerity programs, including
Which Biden has already said he supported.
And cuts to Social Security. You vote for NAFTA,
Yep.
free trade deals, deindustrialization, a decline in wages, the loss of hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs, and the offshoring of jobs to underpaid workers who toil in
Destruction of the
sweatshops
environment
in
as well.
Mexico, China, or Vietnam. You vote for the assault on public education and the transfer of federal funds to for-profit
Private
Christian
schools, charter schools.
You vote for the doubling of our prison population, the tripling and quadrupling of sentences.
Yep.
And
Joe Biden was a huge proponent of the crime bill in the 90s that had led us to the United States being the largest carceral state in the world.
Expansion of crimes meriting the death penalty. You vote for militarized police who gun down poor people of color with impunity.
Joe Biden nominated or has Kamala Harris as his VP, who is literally the top cop in California, as their attorney general, who wanted to lock up parents if their kids were truant at school. And Joe Biden has said that one of the problems is the police aren't funded enough.
Against the Green New Deal
and
immigration reform. You vote for limiting a woman's right to abortion and reproductive rights. You vote for a segregated public school system in which the wealthy receive educational opportunities and poor people are denied a chance. You vote for punitive levels of student debt and the inability to free yourself of debt obligations through bankruptcy. You vote for deregulating the banking industry and the abolition of Glass-Steagall. You vote for the for-profit insurance and pharmaceutical corporations and against universal health care.
Yeah, because again, Joe Biden has come out multiple times, again, during an unprecedented pandemic, saying he would veto Medicare for all, something 80, 90+% of Democratic voters support. If he was smart, he would come out, even if he didn't believe it, in support of that. He would have the election tied up in a little bow like that.
You vote for bloated defense budgets.
Yep.
You vote for the use of unlimited oligarchic and corporate money to buy our elections. You vote for a politician who, during his time in the Senate, abjectly served the interests of MBNA, the largest independent credit card company.
They used to call Joe Biden the senator from MBNA, as that just points out right there.
Quartered in Delaware, which also employed Biden's son, Hunter. What the public wants and deserves will again be ignored. Or what the corporate lobbyists demand. If we do not respond to the social and economic catastrophe that has been visited on most of the population, exacerbated by our failure to control the pandemic, we will be unable to thwart the rise of corporate tyranny and a Christian fascism, or hold the ecocide that will wipe out the human species along with most other life forms. Right-wing violence, along with lethal police violence, will explode with or without Trump in office. If we do not build robust
social safety nets,
to reintegrate those who've been pushed aside back,
which is a huge swath of the population.
To heal the ruptured social bonds, to give workers jobs that provide a sustainable income and dignity, empowerment and protection, to provide free and well-funded schooling through college. If we do not rebuild our labor unions, along with instituting universal health care and an end to the squandering of our resources on endless war. Yes, we need new radical parties, which is why I'm here today. And in this election and from now on, we need to stand up for our values, not surrender them, which is why I urge you in this election to vote for the Green Party. I am not willing to surrender every issue I care about to become an accomplice in this moral squalor and death march to extinction. But I'm also not naive enough to tell you we can win. The corporate state has built very effective mechanisms of control and oppression. But these corporate forces have us by the throat, and they have my children by the throat. In the end, I
love this. I remember this line from him because he says it so often. I don't fight fascists because I think I can win. I fight fascists because they're fascists. Let's see if I got it.
I fight fascists because I will win. I fight fascists because they are fascists. Thank you.
God damn, was that not powerful or what? Did he not just make a great case of why we shouldn't feel we shouldn't be voter shamed into supporting Joe Biden in this election if he's not willing to give people just a little nibble on something that would actually materially improve their lives. Highly recommend this book by Hedges, America, The Farewell Tour. I'm just going to read a couple of short passages from the first chapter titled Decay. Societies in acute distress often form what anthropologists call crisis cults, which promise recovered grandeur and empowerment during times of collapse, anxiety, and disempowerment. A mythologized past will magically return. America will be great again. Where have we heard that before, huh? The old social hierarchies, opportunities, and rules will be resurrected. Prescribed rituals and behaviors, including acts of violence to cleanse the side of evil, will vanquish the malevolent forces that are blamed for the crisis. Just look at Trump ordering that extrajudicial assassination of Michael Reinhold, that anti-fascist in Portland. These crisis cults, they have arisen in most societies that face destruction, from Easter Island to the Native Americans at the time of the 1890 ghost dance, create hermetically sealed tribes informed by magical thinking. We are already far down this road. Our ruling elites are little more than Ice Age hunters in Brooks Brothers suits. As the anthropologist Ronald Wright told me, driving herds of woolly mammoth over the cliffs to keep the party going without asking what will happen when the food source suddenly goes extinct. Just that really stuck with me there, as well as this one. Capitalist states seek to keep workers unconscious, Gramsci wrote, because no worker under a capitalist system will ever receive the full amount of his or her labor. This would destroy capitalism. Any worker who truly understood his or her interests would be dedicated to the overthrow of capitalism. Revolution for Gramsci did not come from above but from below. It was organic. And the failures in his eyes of revolutionary elites is that they were often as dictatorial and disconnected from workers as capitalist elites. The masses had to be integrated into the structures of power to create a new form of mass politics. Hence, his insistence that all people are intellectuals capable of autonomous and independent thought. A democracy is possible only when all of its citizens understand the machinery of power and have a role in it, in the exercising of power. It's just really amazing. Let's see. And then I really like this too. And this, I'll leave you with this. I could go on and on. This is just from the first chapter, but again, highly recommend this book. It's my second time reading through it. America, The Farewell Tour by Chris Hedges. Nationalism, the revolutionary theorist Rosa Luxemburg warned, is always a tool used to betray the working class. It is, she wrote, quote, an instrument of counter-revolutionary class policy. It unleashes powerful forms of indoctrination. Definitely see that, with the Trump MAGA crowd right now. Okay. And then, one more. The permanent lie. The permanent lie turns political discourse into absurdist theater. Trump, who lies about the size of his inauguration crowd despite photographic evidence, insists that in regard to his personal finance, he is going to get killed by a tax bill that actually will save him and his heirs more than $1 billion. The permanent lie is the apotheosis of totalitarianism. It no longer matters what is true. Again, that's just the complete characterization of Trump. No longer matters what is true. It only matters what is correct. Federal courts are being stacked with imbecilic and incompetent judges who serve the correct ideology of corporatism and the rigid social mores of the Christian right. They hold reality, including science, and the rule of law, in contempt. They seek to banish those who live in a reality-based world defined by intellectual and moral autonomy. Totalitarian rule always elevates the brutal and the stupid. The reigning idiots have no genuine political philosophy or goals. They use cliches, slogans, make America great again, keep America great. most of which are absurd and contradictory to justify their greed and lust for power. This is true for the Christian right as it is for the corporatists that preach the free market and globalization. The merger of corporatists with the Christian right is the marrying of Godzilla and Frankenstein. Again, just don't think voter shaming is a effective form of political outreach at all. And a lot of liberal blue check types on Twitter, other social media platforms are literally just trying to shame people into voting for Joe Biden, when actually they should be shaming Joe Biden to actually support policies that would make people want to vote for him. I'm not going to shame anybody for either not voting or for voting for Joe Biden, or for voting for a third party, whether that's Green, whether that's some type of other socialist or communist party, if they're in the ballot in your state. By all means, it's politicians' job to convince people to vote for them. It's not politicians' job to shame people into voting for them or any of their surrogates or supporters. That shit ain't gonna work. You actually have to give people a reason to vote. And Hedges so eloquently, per usual, because he's just has a mastery of words, quite the verbal wordsmith he is, makes a very compelling case of why we should not vote for Trump or Biden. And I'm not going to shame anybody for making that choice. Come up to your own conclusions. And again, voter shaming is not an effective form of political outreach. You want somebody to support your candidate, get your candidate to come to the policy positions that a vast majority of people support. Again, if Joe Biden wanted to win, instead of just propping up the neoliberal status quo with these very small tweaks around the edges that aren't actually going to really drastically improve the material conditions of people in the U.S., that's his fucking problem. He needs to do better. Support Medicare for all. 80, 90+% Democratic voters support that. Support tuition-free college. Support student loan debt forgiveness universally. Support a Green New Deal as our planet literally burns, as the west coast of the United States has some of the worst air quality in the world. Support defunding the military-industrial complex to fund programs of social uplift during a pandemic, etc., etc. It's not that hard. But again, the reasons that Joe Biden doesn't support those things are the exact reasons why the Democratic elites and the establishment, people like Obama, pulled the strings behind the scenes to make sure that he was the nominee and not Bernie. So again, get your candidate. If you're a Joe Biden supporter, get your candidate to actually come to the positions that a vast majority of voters support. And you know what? Maybe they would support him. Voter shaming doesn't fucking work. Peace. Peace, love.